I am Mary Beth Barry, and I had a wonderful career in the field of education, and it's been 8 years since I was diagnosed with kidney failure.
My name is Ivy, and I am a master's student at Cal State Long Beach, studying to be a school counselor. I've been on CKD for 4 years now. When my nephrologist told me the news that I had kidney failure, I was with my oldest sister, because I have 2 older sisters, and my mom, and he had told us the news, so obviously it was a huge shock, and we were all bawling our eyes out.
When I was first diagnosed, you can just begin to imagine total panic and fear that overcame me. The message I received was that I needed to go on dialysis and that my diagnosis was not very good, that I would be very lucky to have 10 years to be alive.
To me, it felt like all my plans are changed, because I was planning on transferring to UCLA. I was planning on moving into the dorms, going to my dream school, and I felt like I couldn't do that because I don't even know what this means, being diagnosed with kidney failure.
Somewhat you're in denial. You're saying, oh, I'm getting older. This is a natural thing that will happen. But, kidney failure is called the silent killer because there really aren't symptoms. That's why it's so dangerous. So I went to see Dr. Rastogi. He said, you have a choice. Everybody comes in here, they have a choice of what they're gonna do and how they're gonna do it. And he said, there are people who choose no treatment. They do not want a treatment. There are people who choose in-center, and there's at home. I was just thrilled when I left and I realized there was another option. The option for me was going to allow me to go to work.
Well, my mom was really struggling with the idea of me going to college. So I think that was the next big decision, whether I should take some time off, like medical leave, or just continue my education and pursue going to UCLA. And I really wanted to go, obviously, and my mom was really against it. And so it took a lot of convincing for her to feel comfortable with me going. And my doctors were super helpful with that, reassured that many people on hemodialysis still, live their daily lives and they're able to do it. It's a little bit of an adjustment, but it's definitely doable. So that fall, I moved into the UCLA dorms, and I had in-center dialysis, and I would have to coordinate my dialysis with, my class schedule. And I found that doing it early in the morning was just better because I could keep my dialysis separate from my academic and social life. Hemodialysis basically cleans your blood to get rid of toxins. So as a kidney failure patient, you're not getting worse, but you're not getting better. It's just a treatment that keeps you stable. So they would connect you, and it kind of just takes some of your blood out, and then it's cleaning your blood through a machine, and then the blood comes right back into you once it's cleaned. So I would sit there for 3 hours, and then, if I could, I just either sleep, or I would do some readings or homework or watch TV. I struggled with it definitely my first quarter as a student. I remember just feeling really frustrated. I would have, emotional breakdowns at times. That was kind of my journey in accepting that, yes, my health is going to affect my performance in school, and it was definitely hard for me at first.
The biggest reason I chose peritoneal dialysis was I felt like I was going to have control of my own life. I could go to bed at night, do PD, get up in the morning, go to work, come home, have dinner with my husband, see my friends during the day, and I just did it at night, so it really worked. You have to be proactive about your own health and make your own choices. And for me, I made up my mind that I was going to do everything I could to hold on to everything I could. The PD, you're doing it yourself, and you feel like it's scary, but you feel like you're more in charge. And so I learned that your peritoneum, which is right here, they're going to use that as a cavity to put this fluid in, which is really a form of a sugar water. Then there are tubes that you use, They get attached to the dialysis liquid and the machine. So after I did my training, I decided to use the machine 7 o'clock at night. And I did it every single night. One of the things I was concerned about was being able to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. And I had an extra long cord from myself to the machine so I could get to the bathroom. It was not a problem. And then when you get up in the morning, the bag is full and the bag is emptied and you've done your dialysis really for the day. Now there's many steps in between. The machine would tell you every step of the way of what to actually do. And it was comforting to know also that there was 24-hour support you could call. You will not believe it, but after a while, it's like second nature because I did it for 4.5 years.
Doctors don't recommend to stay with a permacath for a very long time, but I really didn't want to get that fistula because I felt like it was something like physically on my arm that I wasn't ready for. It could look like really bumpy on the skin, and there's a pulsing that you always hear when you have a fistula, so I didn't want to kind of live with that in my life. So in terms of using a fistula, the techs use needles and poke you with a needle to kind of get that blood out and poke you with another needle to get it back in. Eventually and finally, I did get a fistula. And in terms of poking that vein, at times if the tech would miss it, there could be infiltration, which is when the vein hits the needle in a wrong way and causes this pain that makes your arm swell up really big. So that is super uncomfortable. But that rarely happened to me. That it only happened to me like once or twice. Also, using a fistula, you can get some bruising. I bruise really easily, so at times I would just have bruises on my arm from being poked, and those were pretty much the side effects of using a fistula.
When I began peritoneal dialysis, I noticed a difference of feeling. Definitely you felt better. For me, I loved going to work. I never thought of kidney failure when I was there. It never even crossed my mind. I was at work. I had a mission to do. I liked what I was doing. I felt especially even more grateful that I'm not sitting in a center doing dialysis instead of at a school and having an impact and enjoying myself and also living the life that I enjoy so much.
So after graduating UCLA, I got a job as a teacher. I often had to leave early for my dialysis treatment. So that was definitely very difficult for me. I finally decided to do peritoneal dialysis because I was tired of going to my appointments and having to leave work early. And I felt that peritoneal dialysis was a great way to balance having a full-time job and being on treatment. The nightly setup takes about 10 to 15 minutes to complete, so it's pretty fast. Disconnecting from the machine in the morning takes about like 5 minutes. With hemodialysis, there were symptoms like fatigue and cramping or headaches. With peritoneal dialysis, I don't really feel any symptoms at all. I have more flexibility with potassium-rich foods, so I eat more like tomatoes, when in the past I couldn't eat tomatoes because it was harder on hemodialysis.
PD really helped my kidney function. It kept me feeling much better and it sustained me much longer so I could be working towards getting a transplant. My grandchildren were a huge motivation. I want them to know who I am, not as someone who can't get out of the bed and go to the beach with them or do any other thing. That was really important. Bill and I were traveling locally because we had to learn how to do it with PD. I had to take through the X-ray machine, the carry-on, with the things in it, enough for one day, just in case everything else didn't get there. There's so many people who say that sounds like so much work to leave the house. I'd be better off sitting home. You know, I've never had that. That's not who we are. We're gonna go.
Comparing the feeling of actually doing peritoneal dialysis and hemodialysis, with the fistula, you're getting poked with 2 big needles. Even though at times it doesn't feel like anything when you're getting poked, sometimes it does hurt. And again, you feel like a pulsing with your fistula that is always there because it's just a bigger vein that lives in your arm. With a peritoneal dialysis, this occurs overnight when you're having treatment, if you're doing the machine. So it kind of feels like you're just really bloated and you're sleeping like that, and then the liquid goes out. And then again, you feel like maybe a little skinnier, and then it's just a cycle that continues.
One of the extra benefits was that when I did PD, I did it 7 days a week. I could go to some of my favorite exercise classes. I felt better, I had more energy, and I felt like I was a functioning person in the community. To keep myself healthy now, we have really returned to a more rigorous schedule of exercising. A lot of walking, a lot of hiking, biking, yoga, dancing, Zumba. I tell people that I never gave up hope. Reaching out to your family and to other people, and you have to get through the challenging times, and you got to figure out a way to do that. And for me also, like going out walking and exercising during that time, it cleared my mind and said, how am I going to figure this out? How am I going to do that? It helped me tremendously. The things that came out of the kidney failure for me really were that I was stronger than I thought I was. That I was much stronger than I thought I was in being able to cope with it. Things are going to hit you in life, and you're going to deal with them. The first thing I would tell anybody before they make a choice, get yourself informed. Get the fear out of the way and get the facts, because you've got to figure out for your lifestyle what is going to work so you can have your life, and it has to work for you.
I feel like following your own instinct and doing your own research, aside from what your doctors or other healthcare professionals tell you, is super important. Your life is not over if you have CKD. It's just about balancing all the things that you need to do. And of course, you can feel stressed, and there are some days where you'll feel, sad, but in the end, it's just to be grateful and that you can still live your life and live it well.
So that's the big picture, but the small picture is be in the moment. Be in the moment and being grateful in the moment, not worried about everything else that's going wrong. Because if you have your health, you have everything.